What is going on, you guys? Welcome to the Ready to See podcast. This is your host, Cristopher Zamora. I'm coming to you with another podcast episode. Welcome to the show. So today, I want to speak to you about Scream 6, the movie. Now, this movie, I believe, is way better than Scream 5. I think just changing the setting that is not Woodsboro, it was a great choice. It was a really good choice that it was somewhere else other than Woodsboro. This time they take it in New York City, and I believe it was awesome, man. This was the better one. You know when Scream 5 actually came out, and when I saw the movie, I wasn't really enjoying the movie. Cause I don't know, sometimes the dialogue, it just seems so cringe and I wasn't really feeling it. The characters were alright, but just the dialogue, how they wrote it, it just wasn't as good as Scream 6. I don't know, man. Scream 5, it just seemed like a really letdown. That's why I had to give that film like a 5 out of 10. It was okay, but it's the Scream movie that I enjoyed the least out of the other ones that came out. What I like about Scream 6 is that they actually showed the whole lair of the killer. I was avoiding the trailers for this movie. The only one I actually saw was the one in the subway. That trailer just only hooked me in, and that's why I didn't watch any other trailers that came out for this movie, because I just wanted to see the movie for its glory on the movie theaters. And speaking of movie theaters, man, this was actually the very first time that I've seen a Scream movie on the movie theaters. Yeah, man, this was the very first one I've seen. I didn't went to go see Scream 5 in theaters last year in 2022 because I was still a little bit iffy about the COVID-19 and stuff. That's why I didn't really went. But now that the pandemic has actually calmed down, by a bunch, I actually did went to go see it this year in 2023. And oh my, there was actually one part that actually did scare me. It was an experience, man, just watching a Scream movie for the very first time in theaters. I've seen the other ones just on TV, but never actually saw them in theaters. So yeah, man, it was a cool experience watching a Scream movie in theaters. I'm gonna go a little bit in spoilers, guys. Yeah, I'm gonna go major spoilers for Scream 6. So if you guys have not seen Scream 6, this is a warning, because I'm going to go over major spoilers. Y'all left? Okay. Alrighty, so the guys and ladies that are here, hearing me, the police officer was the killer. But not just only him. There were two other ones. One, it was his daughter, and I think the other one was also his son, I believe. I guess the right killer, but I didn't know there was going to be more than two. This time it was 3 killers instead of just 2. They usually only do just 2 killers at a time for almost every single Scream movie other than Scream 3. So this was brand new. They actually did use 3 killers for this one. I was beginning to believe that the police officer had to do something with all the killings that were happening on Scream 6. Because once they visited the lair where supposedly the killer had all these artifacts from all the stab movies and all the killings that have happened before. Like, for example, there was Billy Loomis's shirt, also the knife and the actual ghost costumes that every other killer that was using throughout the franchise. All of that was all in that lair, so it was cool to see all of that. And I thought, man, this gotta be the main villain. This has to be the last one, right? But I don't know, man. I feel like they're gonna keep making more Scream movies. You know, when Scream 5 actually came out and when I finished watching the movie, that's when I thought, yeah, man, you need to be done with this series. They're just bringing this franchise back just for nostalgia. But this movie, Scream 6, it changed my mind, man. But now that we've seen the Ghost's lair, where he has all these artifacts from all the killings that happened before Scream 6, I have no idea what is next for this franchise. Now that's the biggest question I have, and maybe the biggest question that everybody else has as well. No, this is a theory that I saw online that maybe Stu, he could be still alive, and there could be a reason why. In the original movie, Sydney, she shot and killed Billy Loomis just like that, but she only threw the TV to Stu, and that's about it. She never shot him. She never stabbed him. So that's been a theory that's been going on Twitter, on almost any page talking about the Scream franchise. They believe that Stu might be coming back. I don't know, man. That could be true. That could be actually true, that it could be coming back for Scream 7. Like maybe he's just been studying like all these killers like throughout the franchise, like what they're actually good at and what their mistakes are, so he can become the biggest like killer out of all of them. Remember on Scream 5, if you guys have seen it, like in the beginning when Tara, she was speaking with the killer, right? And the killer showed up. This killer was really precise with its parts that he chose to stab Tara. And I believe maybe this could be Stu. It wasn't the killer that we found out that it was on Scream 5. That's what I believe. Because since he was very precise, and like the other Ghostface killers that came out on Scream 5, they weren't as precise and strategic like the one that came out like in the first 10 minutes of the movie. I don't know, man. This could be true, but I don't know. It's just a theory that I have, that Stu was probably the Ghostface that came out in Scream 5 in the beginning of the movie. But I don't know, man. But that's what I think. I could be wrong, but we're probably gonna have to find out until next year, probably, or in 2 years. I wonder if they're actually gonna make another Scream movie in New York, because New York is a really good setting for almost any movie. I mean, the Avengers took place in New York, and you also got the Home Alone 2 movie. Oh, and Jason. There's also a Jason movie that came out years ago, like in the 80s. It's called Manhattan, New York something. I'm not really sure, but it just takes place in New York. That movie didn't really do so well because most of the whole movie just took place on a boat, or I'll say a ship. That's where the most of the whole setting took place for that movie. And to be honest, I have to say that was my least favorite movie from the Friday the 13th franchise. I don't know, man. It seemed like they promised a lot, like that it was gonna be in New York City and that Jason was gonna go after these characters and they were gonna run around the alleys and the subways. I mean, we got one part or two from New York City, but I remember doing my research like 2 years back that this movie didn't really took place in New York. Like they only got a few shots from New York City, like the part where Jason actually went to Times Square, and I believe the subways as well. But that was about it. Most of the film just took place in a ship, which was kind of disappointing. But you had to admit that the theme song that they had for this movie was very catchy. And I do enjoy 80s music, to be honest. I'm always like playing 80s music on the radio. I think the best time to actually play 80s music is probably at nighttime. Since I live in an urban area, I usually just listen to 80s music and just drive at nighttime. This is good, man. Just seeing the city lights. Awesome, man. Awesome with the 80s music. But yeah, going back to Friday the 13th, the Manhattan movie. I'm not sure the proper title, but I know it just takes place in New York. It didn't do so well, but like my favorite movie from Friday the 13th has got to be the fourth one, I believe. It was when he finally fought his nemesis. I think his name was Tommy, I believe. Let me check. Hold on. Yeah, he actually did fight Tommy Jarvis. That was like his biggest enemy. And they actually did have that whole showdown, I think in the fifth movie. Or six. No, I believe it was number 6. There's a lot of Friday the 13th movies, man. Yeah, I believe that was number 6. That was the best one, in my opinion, from Friday the 13th. I think they should not have left Jason live. But since this franchise was very popular at the time, they had to keep making a lot of movies for this franchise. So I guess that's why they kept him alive and he didn't die as well. To be honest, they have done that a lot with other franchises as well. I believe they did that with Halloween and also A Nightmare on Elm Street. Like the only one we actually did not see the villain come back and it looked like he was dead, I think it was Child's Play. That was about it. Like we actually only saw on Child's Play 3 when they were rebuilding Chucky from the ground up. And on Child's Play 2 as well. Yeah, it was very unique how they actually did that story for Chucky. To be honest, Child's Play is probably my favorite horror franchise. Out of all the horror franchises so far, I believe. Like from the original 4, like from Halloween, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Child's Play. Child's Play is the one that is my favorite one. And you know, the Seed of Chucky movie wasn't the best movie, but like that speech that Chucky gave, like almost close to the ending, that was like the best scene in the whole movie. He's saying, "I am Chucky, the killer doll." Like that was probably the best scene from that movie. And you know, the show is actually pretty good as well. But I feel like season 2, it was a bit much slower than the first season. Probably because since they were like in one place the whole time and they didn't really move. I think that's why I believe they didn't really do much for this season. The first season they were going everywhere. They were going to different houses, the school ground. Yeah, man. I think the first season is the best one so far for the Child's Play series. I wonder how they're gonna do season 3. We probably might get it around October time, like how they've been doing lately. So we'll see how they're gonna do that. And now let's switch some gears. Let's talk about boxing, because we got a lot of boxing fights coming up. For my new listeners that are listening, I usually talk about a few things that I like talking about, and that's boxing. I usually like talking about anything that is combat sports related, and sometimes I do that, but not every single episode. But for this episode, I'm going to speak to you about just like a few boxing fights that I really am excited to see. There's the upcoming fight that is coming very soon for Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 3. I was so surprised how Leon Edwards actually defeated Usman. It was probably the last minute of the fifth round, and he just knocked him out with his left leg. One huge hit with his left leg to his head. He got knocked out. That was insane, dude. Now we're gonna get the third one, the trilogy fight. Kamaru Usman has won the first one. I think it was by decision. I haven't seen that fight, but I did see the second one. I really thought that Kamaru Usman was going to win this fight, and I was a bit surprised that Leon Edwards was able to put him down. This was actually the very first time ever that somebody has ever put Kamaru Usman down. So it was cool to actually see that. To be honest, Kamaru Usman was winning most of the rounds on that fight until that knockout that came in on round 5. So we'll see, man. We'll see who is actually going to win that one for the trilogy fight. This has to be the last one for them. And if you guys saw the Jon Jones fight with Ciryl Gane, Jon Jones destroyed that man. He destroyed him in 2 minutes. I was surprised. Jon Jones, he just made it look so easy. I was so surprised. And he made him submit. That's the crazy part. He didn't knock them out. He just submitted him. And the fight that I was really looking forward to see was Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. But now that Francis is not there on the UFC, we're probably never going to see that fight ever. But now Francis is going to boxing, and he wants to fight the big fights like Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. I don't know, man. I don't know how he's going to do. It's a different ball game, man, for boxing. Boxing and MMA, they have things that are similar to each other, but it's also different as well. Boxing, you're only focusing with your hands, and for MMA, you need to focus on everywhere else and not get caught. But I don't know, man. He does have the most powerful punch of all time. If you search that up, Francis Ngannou is actually the one who has the hardest hitting punch in MMA. So I don't know, man. He could be actually good in boxing. I saw an interview a few months ago that he was speaking with Mike Tyson in his Hot Boxing podcast. He said that it was his dream, when he was in Africa, he wanted to box. He really wanted to box, and now that he's been successful in MMA, he wants to move to boxing. That has always been his dream, so that is good for him, man. I don't know how he's gonna do in boxing. Hopefully well. Well, you don't know until he actually gets a fight. And now for the next fight that I'm really looking forward to, Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia. It's gonna happen, man. It's happening. I remember just 2 podcasts ago, or maybe 3, I was just speaking about these two, that they need to fight this year, or else this will never actually gonna happen. Yeah, man, it's actually happening on April 22nd. I know probably you might disagree if you're a fan of boxing. I believe that Ryan Garcia is going to beat Gervonta Davis. I don't know by points, but by knockout. Yes, I know. Maybe you just clicked off from this podcast and maybe you're not listening anymore. But hear me out. That left hook that he has is very lethal. It's very dangerous. Gervonta has power, right, on his punches, and supposedly he said himself that he's a complete fighter. That supposedly he's good on defense, he's good at punching, he has the most powerful punch, and probably he's a better counter puncher as well. But Ryan Garcia has that left hook. Gervonta told him that he only has that left hook and he has nothing else. With that left hook, he's going to hit him, man. He's going to hit him really hard and he's going to knock him down. He's going to knock him down. You know why? Because I believe that Ryan Garcia is a master on one thing, which is that left hook. Just like how Floyd Mayweather was a master on his defense, Ryan Garcia's master on his left hook. It's gonna hit Gervonta, man. He's not ready. Well, maybe he is, but we will get to see on April 22nd. That's my pick, man. I know maybe you not might agree with me, but that's what I believe. I believe that Ryan Garcia is gonna take him down. Yeah, man, that's gonna be a huge fight for the lightweight division. And another one that is coming very soon, just probably 2 weeks away from the time I'm recording this podcast, but for you it's just gonna be just 1 week later. It's gonna be David Benavidez versus Caleb Plant. These two hate each other. Well, it seems like they actually do hate each other, like by a bunch, like by a lot. This is gonna be a grudge match, and I don't know, man. This is a tough one to pick. I know that David Benavidez has the strength to take Caleb Plant down, but Caleb Plant has the patience and strategy. Like, he mostly a technical fighter, and I don't know, man. There could be just one punch that Caleb Plant takes David Benavidez down, but I don't know, man. I have no idea how Caleb Plant is going to take Benavidez's punches. So for my pick for that one, guys, I would say that David Benavidez might actually beat Caleb Plant by knockout. Because if this fight goes by decision, I believe Caleb Plant might actually win. Depending on how far they make it for this fight, like on round 10, 11, or 12, I believe that Caleb Plant is actually going to find a way to beat David Benavidez. He might knock him down and he might win by points. I don't know, man. We'll see how that's going to turn out. But I do believe that David Benavidez is going to win this fight by knockout. And now, this fight was just announced just yesterday, guys. Yesterday, on Friday, on March 10th. It was just announced that on April 29, Alexander Usyk is going to fight Tyson Fury. We're going to find out who is number one. This is going to be a huge fight as well. This fight is going to happen a week after the Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight. Yeah, we're going to have good fights coming up, man. Oh, I'm just so excited to see these fights. For me, I'm guessing Tyson Fury might actually win this one. It's going to be a very strategic fight. Usyk is a very strategic fighter. More strategic probably than Caleb Plant. Have you seen him fight against Anthony Joshua? I think the second fight was a harder fight for both fighters because Anthony Joshua was actually fighting back and he really wanted to win this fight. In the first fight he had with Usyk, he didn't know what to do. Usyk was so quick with his head and his punches, he didn't know what to do. Like, he was lost. But this second fight, they were going at it, but Usyk just got the best of him. When I'm watching these fights, sometimes I feel like I'm one of the judges as well. Like, I'm scoring between rounds as well, like who won this round or who won that round. That's how I'm seeing the fights as well. Like I'm a judge as well for the fights. But yeah, man, this one's gonna be a good one. Usyk is a very strategic fighter, but can he handle Tyson Fury? There's two ways that this fight can actually end. Tyson Fury can knock out Alexander Usyk, or the second one, Alexander Usyk can beat Tyson Fury by decision. But I feel like Alexander Usyk has taken a lot of punches. For example, that fight he had with Derek Chisora, I saw a few highlights and it seemed like he was going to go down on that fight. He took so much damage on that fight. And like compared to a Tyson Fury punch, oof, man. I have no clue how he's going to come up with a plan to take him down. I don't know, man. He's a very technical fighter, so it could be a good technical fight. But for my pick for that one, it has got to be Tyson Fury. This man is going to go undefeated. He's going to retire undefeated. That's what I believe. And depending on how this fight actually ends, like if this fight ends in a knockout, I don't believe that there's going to be a second fight between them. But if it's by decision, there's going to be a second one. Just like how they did with Anthony Joshua and Usyk won, there was a second fight between them. But for Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, just depending on how it finishes, there could be another one. These are going to be awesome fights, and I can't wait to see them all, man. Damn. What a time to be alive, man. Well, guys, I think that is it for this podcast. Hey, thank you so much for listening to me, man. If you guys are enjoying this podcast, make sure to subscribe to it wherever it is you're listening to the podcast. If you're listening to it on iTunes, if you're listening to it on Spotify, follow it or subscribe to it. I'm also on YouTube as well. And also, remember to actually tell one of your friends talking about horror topics. Make sure to tell him or her about this podcast. Maybe they will like it as well, as much as you do. Anyways, guys, that is it for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening or watching on YouTube. As always, guys, take care and live to the fullest. Bye.